And once again, good morning to all the guests at this seminar. Very, very important topic on safety, operational safety, and even environmental safety. But this session is confining itself to navigation and operational safety. And of course, since we have the ComCG West, he will talk a bit about environmental safety as well. So today in this session, we have three speakers. We will start with Rear Admiral S. Madula, who is a Flag Officer Sea Training, currently serving at Kochi. Then we have Inspector General Bhisham Sharma, who is the Commander Coast Guard Region West, very important responsibility. And of course, we have Captain Mohan Nayak with a vast experience of a variety of jobs done in the merchant marine. And today he's the CEO of Dynacom Tankers, again a very responsible and important position. Since the biodata and the CV of all these speakers is available to you in the brochure, I will not touch upon that. But we will start the session, and I will just lay down the rules, very brief rules. They've already been talked about in the beginning. Each speaker has about 20 minutes, and towards the end of their session, approximately at 18 minutes, I will ring the bell, which gives them a warning that they have to wind up in time. And of course, we would like to hear them for as much as they would desire to talk, but because of our time constraints, we will limit it to 20 minutes. Then I will call the next speaker, and so on. And after the three speakers have delivered their talk, I will sum up what they've said, and we will open the house for a Q&A session for about 10 to 15 minutes. So with those brief introductory remarks, I would now request Rear Admiral S. Madula, Flag Officer Sea Training, to kindly come up and deliver his talk. And he will be talking to us on leveraging multinational efforts for operational and navigational safety in the Indian Ocean region. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Distinguished members of the Indian Maritime Foundation, senior officers, of whom there are overwhelmingly large numbers, and many of them have had the good fortune of being mentored by fellow mariners, a very good morning to you all. It is indeed a privilege to speak before such an accomplished gathering of persons who spend their lives at sea, ensuring that maritime safety is not just a word in a manual, but a lived experience. Today, I wish to share some thoughts on how multinational cooperation and engagement can enhance both operational and navigational safety in the Indian Ocean region, a region that is by all measures indispensable and deeply interdependent. Ancient mariners sailing across the oceans began their voyage with a prayer to Lord Varuna, the guardian of the seas. The Sanskrit phrase they recited translates into, "May all mariners sailing the ocean routes be free from fear. May Lord Varuna, destroyer of perils, ever protect them." That timeless verse still holds meaning today, of course. It is a beautiful thought invoking divine protection for those mariners of yore. But if one looks at the statistics from recent years, one would realize that our similar prayers have not always reached the Sea Lord in time, if at all. Because in the first half of this year alone, the Information Fusion Center of the Indian Ocean region, IFC IOR, recorded 6 incidents of fire, 21 cases of flooding, and 22 groundings. And for Indian stakeholders, the data shows 10 collisions, 6 fires, and 6 groundings. These incidents highlight that even routine operations can spiral into emergencies in the unforgiving environment of the sea. But that's only half the story. On the security front, the trend is equally concerning. In 2024, IFC IOR logged 227 incidents of piracy and armed robbery, compared with 194 in 2023 and 161 in 2022. An unwelcome upward trajectory that highlights persistent instability in key areas. When we talk about operational safety, we normally refer to the prevention of accidental harm, incidents arising from human error, machinery failure, environmental factors, or procedural lapses. Security, on the other hand, deals with deliberate acts like piracy, terrorism, or sabotage. Yet, safety and security are closely connected in the maritime space. A safety lapse can turn into a security vulnerability, and an act of aggression can have safety consequences fire, flooding, damage control, and sometimes evacuation. The IMO's ISPS code and ISM code are designed to operate in tandem, building a resilient safety-security continuum. As we know, the challenges in the Indian Ocean is a complex and risk-prone maritime theater. The challenges include high traffic density and navigational risk. Obviously, with over 100,000 vessels transiting annually, the risk of collision or grounding is ever present, especially near the choke points. Capability and regulatory gaps. Littoral nations differ widely in infrastructure, hydrographic capacity, and enforcement standards. Further, regional navies and coast guards vary in technological sophistication and procedural standardization, and with the responsibilities of disproportionate EEZs with reference to their capabilities. Many fleets are aging with limited access to modern repair facilities, kept alive for longer than they should. We also have environmental and hydrographic factors. Seasonal monsoons, cyclones, and inadequate hydrographic surveys create evolving hazards for navigation. And finally, security threats and non-traditional risks, piracy, sea robbery, sea thefts, and cyber disruptions increasingly blur the line between security and safety. The Indian Ocean may fuel global growth, but it also magnifies maritime vulnerability. As the region becomes increasingly multinational, safety at sea can no longer be viewed as a purely national responsibility. It must become a collective regional enterprise. While that is so, the Indian Navy, being the largest navy in the region, is well positioned to take the initiative of taking all our proactive steps forward. As Flag Officer Sea Training of the Indian Navy, I have the privilege of witnessing daily how safety is sustained not by systems alone, but by procedures, teamwork, and discipline. On board a ship, safety is everyone's business, and the same principle applies across nations. Maritime safety, like seamanship itself, is a shared responsibility. The Somali crisis of 2008 to 12 is a vivid illustration of that. At its peak, piracy disrupted global trade and endangered thousands of seafarers. The eventual success in curbing piracy came through cooperation. The Combined Maritime Forces, the UNAVFOR, the Indian Navy, and several others, supported by shipping industry initiatives such as the best management practices voluntarily adopted by the shipping companies. Recent incidents offer further lessons. The MV Express Pearl fire off Colombo in 2021, the grounding of MV Wakashio in 2020, even the hazardous cargo explosion on the MV Vanhai of the Kerala coast in 2024 all demonstrated how multi-agency collaboration, from firefighting to salvage to pollution control, can mitigate disaster. And the swift coordination by the Indian Navy, the IFC-IOR, with other stakeholders shows that effective partnerships can make the critical difference between loss and recovery. To translate shared responsibility into practical action, three enablers are essential: domain awareness, shared operational capability, and policy support. Maritime domain awareness underpins operational safety at sea, and the Indian Ocean's vastness makes this particularly vital, demanding information sharing across boundaries and necessary to respond to incidents. The creation of the Indian Navy's Integrated Information Management and Analysis Center, or the IMAC, and the Information Fusion Center, Indian Ocean Region, or the IFC-IOR, at Gurugram has been transformative. Together, they combine radar and satellite inputs, AIS feeds, white shipping data from over 50 partner nations, fusing them all into a single maritime picture. And the efficacy of the IFC-IOR is enhanced by the presence of a large number of international liaison officers who add varied experiences and professional capabilities to the center. A powerful demonstration of the center's value came last year when a Sri Lankan trawler was hijacked nearly 1,000 nautical miles east of Mogadishu. Real-time coordination between the IFC-IOR, the Regional Coordination Center in Seychelles, the navies of India, Sri Lanka, and Seychelles led to the safe rescue of the crew and arrest of the pirates. Such success stories underscore how shared awareness and trust can yield swift results. IFC-IOR's recent designation as a voluntary reporting center by the IMO marks a major milestone. Beyond security incidents, an anonymized database of safety-related events, collisions, near misses, equipment failures could foster learning across the region. This would help identify trends in human error and improve procedures for prevention, backed by coordination and trust between partner nations. The upcoming National Maritime Domain Awareness Project will further integrate information from every maritime agency in India, while the Indo-Pacific MDA or the IPMDA initiative will provide real-time data and analytics to littoral partners. This fusion of national and regional data will enhance anticipatory capability, an essential shift in ensuring safety proactively. Each fusion center in the Indian Ocean, whether the IFC-IOR, the RCOC, the RMIFC, amongst others, plays a part. But to truly make a difference, they must be more tightly connected, both within and across borders. As a coherent maritime situation picture aggregator and maritime security information sharing hub for friendly partner countries, the IFC-IOR can be used as the linchpin of these diverse data centers. India's recent initiative to establish National Maritime Information Sharing Centers, or the NMISCs, in East African and Western Indian Ocean nations is another key step. Once operational, they will enhance local capacity and tie in seamlessly into the wider regional safety network. That will also aid the NAV area coordinators to issue timely warnings. Awareness without the ability to act has limited value. Shared operational capability enables partners to respond collectively to maritime crises. The CMF, UNAFOR, and the Indian Navy, amongst others, have cooperated for over 2 decades to secure the sea lanes in response to incidents in the Arabian Sea and the Gulf of Aden. The recent initiative of the Indian Ocean ship Sagar embodies this spirit of shared operational capability. Officers and crew from 9 littoral nations embarked on a single vessel, an Indian naval ship, but fulfilling the role of the ship of the Indian Ocean region. That was deployed to the Southwest IOR, showing a presence in the EZs and the ports of littorals for over a month in April this year. The success of IOS Sagar underlines the possibility of operational feasibility of such joint undertakings under India's leadership. Prior to embarking on the sortie, the combined crew trained together at Kochi and at sea. Taking the IOS Sagar concept further, the vision of a Mahasagar task force or a multinational coalition on the lines of existing CMF in the Gulf, dedicated to addressing operational and navigation safety challenges in the IOR, seems timely and meriting consideration. India could lead the creation of the Mahasagar task force, pooling available assets from partner nations for coordinated patrols and surveillance. The IOS Sagar initiative was complemented by the maiden Africa-India Key Maritime Engagement exercise at Dar es Salaam, joined by 10 African nations. The exercise featured anti-piracy and SAR operations under realistic conditions, enhancing interoperability and regional readiness. Such exercises, as well as those such as Malabar, Kakadu, IMEX, and so on, build a common vocabulary for the language of safety. We need to broaden these multinational exercises to include fire and flooding responses, grounding recovery, and many others. While many joint exercises rightly emphasize war-fighting interoperability, the same coordination is vital in peacetime emergencies. At the heart of operational and navigation safety lies the human element, the watchkeeper. India already serves as the regional training hub, hosting personnel from friendly foreign navies across professional institutions. For instance, emerging technologies present opportunities to enhance joint training further. Examples such as the use of virtual reality simulators connect trainees across nations through the internet and can ease multinational training. These training programs will further enhance professional standards, aiding accident prevention. By expanding these programs, we can move beyond skill transfer to build a shared culture of safety and trust. The third enabler is policy support. The IMO conventions, SOLAS, COLREGS, MARPOL, provide the foundation for maritime safety governance. Regionally, frameworks such as the Indian Ocean Rim Association or the IORA, the Indian Ocean Naval Symposium, the IONS, the Djibouti Code of Conduct, and many others give these global norms local traction. Together, they create a local policy ecosystem which is layered, where dialogue, coordination, and legal convergence reinforce operational collaboration. We could institutionalize our shared commitment through a multinational safety charter under the IONS. This living document would set common safety goals, reporting norms, and standards of professional conduct at sea. Looking ahead, we should aim to further institutionalize our cooperation through the establishment of an Indian Ocean Operational Safety Forum, which could be established under the broader umbrella of the IONS. Considering our capabilities in this field, India could steer this initiative initially. This body could coordinate safety policy and training initiatives, including focus on accident prevention, such as addressing gaps in hydrographic coverage, TSS promulgation and NAVAIDs, and so on. The forum could also maintain a regional database of incidents and near misses, publish reports and guidelines on operational safety trends, and develop e-learning platforms. At the same time, we must integrate safety objectives into all regional frameworks, such as the BIMSTEC and others, so that every cooperative activity has a safety dividend. Next, we should bring the navies and the maritime industry to the same table. Policy roundtables involving shipping companies, classification societies, naval coast guard representatives can bridge the civil-military gap in safety awareness. Industry provides insight into emerging technologies and maritime traffic. Navies contribute operational and crisis management expertise. Together, they can shape harmonized guidelines to ensure safety standards evolve in tandem with technological progress. Cyber risk mitigation and autonomous vessel regulation are also areas where such partnerships are increasingly indispensable. One of the ways forward is to leverage the robust capabilities of the Indian Navy, probably through the FOST organization and others, as a regional anchor for multinational sea training and safety cooperation. For decades, FOST has embodied professional rigor, ensuring that every ship sails ready, not merely certified. These same principles can now serve as a template for a broader regional purpose. As a first step, there is a possibility to establish regional sea training exchanges within the broader framework of the Sagar and the Mahasagar. FOST can extend specialized capsules and programs to partner navies and maritime agencies across domains, such as navigation and safety management. This would strengthen onboard safety cultures. Bridge teams from different nations could be assessed and trained side by side, sharing insights and cross-pollinating best practices. Next could be the creation of a regional safety engagement or Sea Training Safety Week, conducted again under the aegis of IONS. Modeled on FOST's own workups, this annual event could feature joint drills, seminars, and exercises focused on navigation, firefighting, damage control, search and rescue, and also include safety audits. A shared accident investigation board could serve as a third initiative, an impartial multinational body to investigate maritime incidents, focused on learning rather than blame. With its existing expertise and infrastructure, FOST could function as a secretariat for such a board, compiling lessons and issuing regional advisories to prevent recurrence. Fourth, maritime safety exchange programs could embed officers from different nations within FOST teams. When officers and crew sail and train together, they exchange not only procedures but perspectives, building the trust that is the true currency of multinational cooperation. Beyond naval engagements, there is also a need to collaborate with non-naval stakeholders, port administrators, maritime training centers, and so on. Joint training sessions, including simulator sessions and tabletop exercises, could align operational and policy level actors, leading to evolving regional best practice manuals on navigation safety, collision avoidance, and search and rescue. This may be driven by other government agencies, with the Indian Navy playing an important role in this initiative through the FOST. In conclusion, operational navigation safety of maritime traffic is vital to the seamless flow of trade, environmental well-being of the littorals, and, of course, protection of human lives. Effective multinational, multi-agency cooperation through bodies such as the CMF, IFC IOR, RECAP, IONS, IORA, etc., and through visionary concepts such as Sagar and Mahasagar, illustrate models. But persistent coordination remains essential. The framework for multinational operational and navigation safety in the Indian Ocean is already taking shape. The real challenge now lies in advancing from coordination to collaboration and from collaboration to collective ownership. The way forward lies not in creating new institutions, but in linking existing ones intelligently. A safety charter steered by an operational safety forum offers a vision. An expanded IFC IOR provides information. Training exchanges build capability. Tabletop exercises strengthen readiness. And industry-Navy dialogue ensures inclusivity. Together, these 5 strands can weave a robust, resilient, and truly multinational fabric of navigational and operational safety. Thank you. Jai Hind, Shanovaran.
Thank you, Admiral Madula, for that excellent expose on so many aspects of international cooperation, coordination for enhancing, improving, and implementing safety and security at sea. He talked about the piracy incidents and how the navies of the world collaborated, and he gave a recommendation for what FOST as an organization can do going forward to further strengthen the Sagar and Mahasagar initiative of the Government of India and the Indian Navy. So more about that later, once all the speakers have delivered their talks. And now may I request IG Sharma to please take the podium and deliver his talk. He will basically talk about the role and responsibilities of the Coast Guard. It is a vast charter which covers a very vast canvas. So over to you, IG Sharma.
Thank you, sir. Captain Anand Dikshit, President IMF, Vice Admiral Pashricha, former CNC, Admiral Karve, Admiral Pawar, Rear Admiral Nadkarni, former flag officers, members of Maritime Fraternity, brother officers in uniform, distinguished audience, ladies and gentlemen, very good morning to all of you. First of all, it's a proud privilege for me to be here and unfolding what's the role of the Coast Guard in enhancing maritime safety and security. But having heard Captain Anand, Vice Admiral Pashricha, and also the CNC, what comes to my mind is maritime safety is a journey, not a destination. What I mean to say is that the methods and the efforts to ensure maritime safety demand constant revision and evolution to keep pace with the evolving exploitation of the maritime domain. Measures that hold good today may not be relevant tomorrow. With this, I intend to steer my presentation through the waypoints as flashed on the screen. Oceans as global highways serve as primary conduit for the transmission of political, social, economic, and environmental dynamics across the nations. In today's age of increasing globalization, safety in the Indian Ocean region has become more challenging and complex given the morphing and emerging threats to smooth flow of trade and commerce. In India, India's location is not only strategic, but also vulnerable. Therefore, the Indian Coast Guard plays a pivotal role and acts as an enabler of maritime safety. A perspective about Indian Coast Guard. India's evolving maritime needs during the 70s and our nation's advance in trade, energy exploration, and maritime activity, coupled with need of dedicated maritime security and law enforcement force, led to the emergence of Indian Coast Guard. The story of Indian Coast Guard is not just about the creation of a force. It's about a vision of a secure seas, responsible maritime stewardship, and a nation determined to safeguard its maritime destiny. Interim Coast Guard was constituted as an armed force for executing multiple missions, capable of acting as a first responder to any maritime emergency, and versatile to address emerging maritime challenges, be it albeit with a humble beginning of 7 ships. We have a unique character which is very distinct from any other armed force. The motto Vayam Rakshamaha, translated in English, we protect, aptly sums up the benevolent character converging on maritime safety. Centered on the broad pillars of maritime safety, security, maritime law enforcement, and marine environment protection, ICG undertakes its mandate based upon national duties and international obligations. Our area of responsibility extends to 11,098 kilometers of the coastline, 2.1 million square kilometers of the EEZ, and 4.6 million square kilometers of Indian search and rescue region. The duties entrusted upon the Indian Coast Guard are taking measures to preserve and protect marine environment, ensuring safety and protection of artificial islands, offshore terminal installation and other structures, providing protection to fishermen including assistance to them at sea while in distress, prevention and control of marine pollution, assisting customs and other authorities in anti-smuggling operations, measures for the safety of life and property at sea and collection of scientific data, and enforcing the provisions of such enactments in the maritime zones. Since its constitution in 1978, ICG has been entrusted with multiple additional responsibilities as shown on the screen. The area of operations undertaken by the ICG are as shown on the screen. Concurrent operations have been the norm for the Indian Coast Guard due to ever-increasing responsibilities. In performance of our charters, the Coast Guard deploys almost around 50 to 55 ships per day, including and 10 to 12 aircraft for the aerial surveillance, so as to respond to dynamic maritime scenarios. In fulfillment of our responsibilities under international obligations, National Maritime Search and Rescue Board, with the Director General of the Indian Coast Guard as its chairman, and 32 national stakeholder and resource agencies as its board members, has been constituted. ICG is responsible for developing, establishing, maintaining, and operating search and rescue facilities for the maritime operations. Coordination of these operations is achieved through 3 Maritime Rescue Coordination Centers called MRCCs and 28 Maritime Rescue Sub-Centers called MRSCs, located across the coastal states and union territories of India. The MRCCs and the MRSCs are equipped with the state-of-the-art GMDSS equipment for coordination of SAR. This slide depicts the distribution and control of vast search and rescue region of 4.6 million square kilometers. The distribution of search and rescue alerts is controlled at the Indian Mission Control Center at Bengaluru, based upon set geographical boundaries depicted in the previous slide. ICG, along with a consortium of agencies which include Airport Authority of India, Directorate General of Shipping, the Army, the Navy and the Air Force, funds for the operation of Mission Control Center and local user terminal. ICG contributes to the tune of rupees 15 lakhs annually for the purpose. ICG, in coordination with the IMCC Bengaluru, also conducts periodic beacon exercises aimed to test and validate maritime search and rescue response mechanism, specifically using satellite-based distress beacons. Beacon exercise is meant for validation of systems, interagency cooperation and coordination, operational readiness methods to evolve coverage improvement, and check responses in the Indian search and rescue region. Accordingly, ICG has promulgated National Maritime Search and Rescue Manual, introduced initially in 2002 and revised as recently in 2020. This manual provides a detailed overview of maritime search and rescue structure in India, outlining specific responsibilities of the relevant stakeholders. Additionally, an MSAR plan, initially introduced in 2013, has been revised in 2022. It outlines India's search and rescue construct and associated responsibilities. Both these documents undergo periodic revision to ensure alignment with international procedures. Furthermore, a biannual newsletter named Sea Waters is also published, featuring SAR and MEDVAC incidents, trend analysis, and essential circulars to guidelines for the benefit of maritime community. To improve situational awareness within its area of responsibility and monitor vessel traversing in the Indian search and rescue region, INTSAR system, a voluntary ship reporting system, was implemented starting from 1st February 2003. Technologies like long-range identification and tracking and automatic identification systems are effectively utilized to reinforce search and rescue framework. To improve safety of fishermen, ICG has collaborated with the ISRO to develop distress alert transmitter, which helps in locating distress boats at sea. ICG also supported International Center for Ocean Information Services in COIS in creating search and rescue aid tool called SARAT, which calculates the probability of detection post-SAR incident based upon met conditions in the incident area. These efforts underscore ICG's commitment to employ cutting-edge technologies for improving the overall SAR mechanism. To validate coordination, interoperability, notification chains, protocols between MRCCs and other national and international centers, search and rescue communication exercises are conducted periodically. ICG has recently conducted search and rescue communication exercise with Nigeria on 13th of October, thereby establishing and validating communication links. The Indian Coast Guard saves approximately 1 life every second day as per the statistics shown on the slide. I am glad to inform this gathering that India underwent the maiden IMO member state audit in February last year under the framework of IMO Instrument Implementation Code. SAR mechanism implemented by ICG through MRCCs was well appreciated and acknowledged by IMO auditors for the initiatives towards overall safety in Indian search and rescue region. Similarly, towards marine pollution preparedness and response, ICG has formulated National Oil Spill Disaster Contingency Plan and trained stakeholders at our pollution response teams. Till date, we have responded to 99 oil spills, with 3 of them being in the foreign waters. With a view to develop regional response capacity, Regional Marine Pollution Response Center, RMPRC at Chennai, has been established last year. First of its kind in the Indian Ocean region, RMPRC has 24/7 emergency response center, which helps in response coordination towards marine pollution incidents. It will also act as a repository of marine pollution and HNS studies, which will help in training and exercises. India being a contracting party, to recap, MRCC Mumbai has been designated as the focal point for reporting piracy incidents. The ICG's anti-piracy efforts intensified with the resurgence of Somali piracy. Foss mentioned in his speech, anti-piracy efforts intensified with the resurgence of Somali piracy. The operation undertaken under Operation Island Watch demonstrated our commitment to safeguard merchant shipping in the region. During the peak of piracy, ICG arrested 120 Somali pirates. With concerted efforts of Indian Coast Guard and the Navy, the high-risk area has been moved out of the Indian EEZ to the west, and there has been no piracy incidents in our waters since then. Additionally, Op Nishche is being coordinated by the ICG to curb incidents of petty thefts of major and non-major ports in India, wherein ICG assets maintain patrol around the hotspot and anchorages in coordination with VTMS and the Port Marine Police authorities. Community interaction program is a very important facet of our connect with the coastal communities. CIPs are used to sensitize coastal community on prevailing security scenario and also making them act as our eyes and ears. Over 16,000 CIPs have been conducted so far all along the coastline since 2019, and the efforts continue in this direction. The coastal surveillance network has been a key part of the overall maritime safety and security construct. As part of phase 1, 46 radar stations have been activated all along the coastline and island territories in areas of high sensitivity and high traffic density. Phase 2 of the project includes 38 radar stations for near gap-free surveillance. In addition, there are 4 mobile surveillance systems for augmentation as required. Harnessing the potential of CSN and other sources, vessels of interest are generated as shown on the screen. Use of advanced technology and AI for vessel behavior analysis are now deployed to detect anomalies. This has not only enabled proactive monitoring, but generated confidence as a precursor for our preventive measures. For strengthening overall maritime safety and security in the region, ICG collaborates with partner countries, primarily focused on capacity building, capability enhancement, and various overseas outreach activities. ICG has a MOU with the Coast Guards agencies of the 9 countries on maritime safety and security, which includes Bangladesh, Oman, Japan, South Korea, Philippines, Sri Lanka, Vietnam, Pakistan, and Indonesia. Further, MOU with 3 more countries, namely USA, UAE, and Australia, are in progress. Recent developments in Quad now involve cooperation, training, and joint operations between the Coast Guard of the Quad nations. ICG actively participates in various multinational engagements, which includes Coast Guard Global Summit, a forum for discussing global maritime safety and security challenges, as also the best practices, and Head of Asian Coast Guard Agencies meeting provides a platform for collaboration and information sharing among the Asian Coast Guard agencies. Additionally, the ICG is actively involved in RECAP and engages in the World Border Security Congress, focusing on border security and management issues. Further, ICG delegation also participates in IMO Maritime Safety Committee and Marine Environment Protection Committee. ICG is also the main partner in Colombo Security Conclave. As part of our capacity building initiative for friendly foreign countries, we are now conducting maritime law and ops course at Coast Guard Training Center at Kochi, OPRC level 1 and 2 course at pollution response teams, MRCC ops and SAR course, engine room watchkeeping and competency training, and various tabletop exercises, both physical and through the VCs, and national level exercises for search and rescue and pollution response with the active participation of stakeholders and friendly foreign countries. The ship visit and sea rider programs have led to adoption of best practices and common procedures. Further, aircrew deputation to Mauritius is continuing since 90s, apart from the transfer of interceptor boat in 2001. The Sri Lankan Coast Guard have received 2 ICG OPVs in 2015 and 17 and are receiving maintenance and spare support regularly. 1 ALH detachment and 1 IB was also transferred to Maldives as a capacity building measures. Between 2010 and 13, ICG operated special detachment to augment SAR capability in the island nation. 1 IB has been transferred along with maintenance crew to ensure unhindered operations. 1 fast patrol vessel was gifted by India in 2021 to augment the island nations' response to SAR scenario and foster goodwill. India has also gifted 2 IBs to Mozambique and positioned ICG support team to train local operators in maintaining state-of-the-art ships. The Coast Guard conducts a plethora of operations and exercises around the years. Some of the recent major operations are the fire on board MV Merckx Frankfurt last year, posed both hazardous substance and oil spill risk to our coastline. The firefighting operation demonstrated ICG's capability to operate under challenging conditions in coordination with the stakeholders. Sustained efforts over 14 days resulted in saving of 20 crew as well as the vessel. On 24th May this year, with the beginning of monsoon, a distress alert was received regarding dangerously listing container vessel MV Elsa 3. In a swift operation, all crew were safely rescued, but not before the vessel capsized and sank. What followed was a massive effort to contain pollution threat of HNS cargo and oil losing from the wreck. ICG responded to dissipate the oil spill and ensured that no oil reached the shores. The fire on board MV Van High 503 of the Kerala coast concurrently posed grave risk to the crew and posed an environmental hazard. The firefighting operation, conducted in coordination with stakeholders in the Navy, Indian Air Force, and not only saved 18 out of the 22 crew, but also managed to keep the vessel afloat whilst ensuring her movement away from our coast. In continuation of our efforts, ICG conducted 11th National Search and Rescue Exercise of Kochi last year. The event witnessed one of the largest participation of 38 foreign observers from 28 countries, besides over 60 national stakeholders. Similarly, ICG also conducted 10th National Level Pollution Response Exercise of Chennai last month, with participation of 39 foreign observers from 29 countries, wherein the capabilities towards pollution response were showcased. These dedicated efforts have fostered international and stakeholder relationship for overall maritime safety and environmental protection in the region. Maritime Amrit Kal Vision 2047 lays down India's commitment to implement IMO's strategic directions as a growing maritime nation. One of the strategic directions relates to ensuring regulatory effectiveness. ICG is collaborating with the Maritime Administrator to achieve the set key performance indicators, also engaging in ocean governance, which includes meeting UN Sustainable Development Goals. In this regard, ICG has been in the process of inducting next-generation multi-role assets like HNS and oil pollution response vessels in its inventory. The Coast Guard is rendering a yeoman service to the nation, and this fact sheet of achievements bears testimony to our efforts. Our Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi, has stated, and I quote, "Our ability to reap economic benefits from the oceans rests on our capacity to respond to the challenges in the maritime domain," unquote. Before I conclude, I would like to reiterate that Coast Guard is well poised to fulfill the mandate and be an effective instrument for leveraging India's maritime potential, realizing the vision of blue economy, meeting national obligations under IMO treaties and the laws of the seas. Jai Hind, thank you so much.
Thank you, IG Sharma, that in a very short and crisp you covered a very broad canvas of all the roles, responsibilities of the Coast Guard. As you've seen, it's a very important organization in the maritime domain for safety, security, firefighting, environmental protection, and whatnot, including anti-piracy. And we will talk more about this later. But right now, let me take this opportunity to invite Captain Mohan Nayak, who's CEO of Dynacom Tankers, and who will be talking to us about the welfare of seafarers and how this is so important for contribution to safety at sea, because fatigue, stress, mental health, poor living conditions, etc. on board are very, very critical for welfare of seamen and sailors at sea. So over to you, Captain.
Thank you, Admiral Karve, IG Bisham Sharma ji, Admiral Midula, Admiral Pasricha sir, Captain Sudhir Nafade, Mr. Ajay Chatterjee, Admiral Nadkarni, IMF President Captain Anand Dixit, Vice President Captain Hazar Navis, dignitaries of the dais. Thank you very much, IMF, for inviting me to deliver my talk on this important subject of seafarers' welfare and how does it impact the safety at sea. Good morning again, ladies and gentlemen. So let me start with my career in the beginning in 1976 when I joined my first ship. We had a crew of 72 people on board, 72 seafarers. The ship was 125,000 deadweight. We had a purser, we had a ready officer, we had chief cook, second cook, third cook, pumpman, assistant pumpman, bhandari, second bhandari, whatnot, laundryman, you name them. It was like a luxury liner, but it was basically an oil bulk ore carrier. So you see what has happened today. Today I have a crew of 22 on a similar size ship or even a VLCC, 22 people doing the same job what 72 people did. And we had a lifeboat capacity of 75 those days. We have barely a lifeboat capacity of 25. So we have hardly any people, if they need to come in an emergency, come for a repair work, we hardly have 2 or 3 excess capacity on the lifeboat. What does it indicate? The owners are definitely trying to get more cargo, less manpower, and IMO is also mandating the same. They removed the ready officer. The purser was anyway an extra body on board. The ISM code has introduced more checklists, so as documentation shows everything is perfect. But what is missing? Why so many human error are being contributed? 75% human error, why it is so? Okay. Let me quote what one of my colleagues has often quoted. We are concentrating on 3 Ds: decarbonization, diversity, and digitalization. But what is missing? The missing part is the 4th D, that is delight. Delight in shipping is missing. What was the delight? What is that exactly? Is it a tangible delight or is it a non-tangible delight? Things have changed. For example, the Exxon Valdez grounding changed a lot of things. I am not advocating that alcohol should be there on board, but one of the first thing which came on the block was alcohol being banned on tankers, or almost banned. So here we have 5 to 6 months contract being taken on board, and we have, we have Wi-Fi, we have immediate connectivity with families on board, but is it really serving the purpose? I have seen young officers continuously on social media because you have 8 GB, 4 GB free Wi-Fi. And when do you get the rest then? Are you getting rest? No. Once they come down from the watch, they are doing tick, 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 tick on their mobile phones, on their laptops, and then again the time comes for the next watch. So where do they get the time to sleep or time to get a proper rest? So this is a balancing act which needs to be seen when we talk about welfare of seafarers. So with this introduction, let me go deep into the subject. Okay. What actually affects ownership on ships? In merchant ships, there is a disjointed scene of ownership. It's very difficult to, uncover the corporate wheel, so to say. You do not know who is the actual owner. You have different flags, and each ship is classified as a different owner on a particular flag. So this leads to a lot of confusion when there are lawmakers, when there are PSC inspections, when there are other inspections, to find out exactly who is the owner. So this gives a lot of leeway in merchant shipping to cut corners, number one. Number two, although MLC provides for the repatriation of seafarers, there is a huge backlog of seafarers, especially in senior ranks, who need to be replaced. There is not enough seafaring professional joining sea. We have people who come and who leave also very early. So there is a recycling of seafarers not happening. So what does it indicate? That seafarers have to extend their contracts more and more. And their replacement takes a long time, and it is not only for one company, it is happening with all other companies, at least in India, that I know. Also, this leads to, fly-by-night operators who are coming into the picture. Although DG Shipping has tried to cut down on this by, inspection of RPSL companies, and also, introducing now CIP. CIP is, continuous inspection programs like they do it for the maritime training institutes. They are trying to introduce it for the RPSL companies also. From 1st of November, they have started this, that a MMD or a DG Shipping or a shipping master surveyor will come on for the inspection, the third annual inspection, and then they will check the actual things. Not only it will be relying on the responsible organization like IRS or Lloyd's or any of the classification society, but now the MMD or DG Shipping surveyor will also come the third annual and check. I hope this curbs, the fly-by-night operators. And also they have now put a draft to increase the bank guarantees. Why all this is happening? Because Indian seafarers are being abandoned left, right and center. We are having 800 cases annually of abandonment of seafarers. This is a world record. And India leads this ignominious, economy. It is being one of the worst records for abandonment of seafarers. So how do you curb that? These are the things, steps being taken. I hope it's in the right direction. It's at the same time, it should not, drag away the responsible ship owners for coming and taking Indian seafarers. We are trying to aim for 5 lakh, 10 lakh seafarers in the next 2-3 years. The good ship owners should not be, discouraged from coming to India. Okay. Number 3, there has been also incidents of seafarers going on ships which are some different flags. I don't want to name the flags. There has been, DG Shipping themselves have said that certain flags, COCs will not be accepted, certificates of competency. Why? Because they don't pass an exam for those COCs. They just buy the COC. There are flags like that. So this is a very, very big safety hazard. You have a bosun who was sailing on one ship, and the very next ship he becomes chief officer. Forget about third mate, second mate, straight away chief officer. From pumpman he can become captain. Flag has given a certificate, and that certificate is sailing. So isn't this a recipe for disaster? There has been an incident of an asphalt carrier sinking in Arabian Sea about 3 years back, and they saw the certificate. The flag was some I don't want to name it again, some Belize something. And they found that the chief mate had no knowledge of stability, and asphalt carriers have a big problem with stability. And the center of gravity went haywire, and the ship capsized. Luckily, there was no loss of life. Again, thanks to Indian Coast Guard, they had saved in that particular incident. So, these cases are increasing. We have to see what we can do. So, the curbing these fly-by-night operators and these flags, which are giving certificates for a payment, this should be stopped. Now, coming back to other aspects of welfare of seafarers is shore leave. In our own country, Indian citizens are denied shore leave. Isn't that a paradox? And in some cities, some ports, they are asked to come back by 10 p.m. all in the name of ISPS code. अरे भाई ISPS code इतना हुआ है कि वो लोग Indian citizens को भी आप छोड़ रहे हो उनको वापस आने के लिए. So this has to be looked at it. So recently there was an Indian National Maritime Board meeting where this topic of shore leave were taken up, and they decided the Home Ministry, the External Affairs Ministry, all stakeholders were representing. So this was one point which was taken up, and we were promised that a shore leave factor will be taken into account. So one good thing is they are looking at seafarers from a different perspective than what it was being done a few years ago. Even in the immigration now, at least in Mumbai airport, you have a separate queue for seafarers and COC holders. Step in the right direction. It's one other point that they have spelled seafarers with an extra E. So, so you have to correct them. Okay. Okay, let's come to human error. Much has been touted about human error. Human error has been a significant factor in maritime accidents, contributing to 70 to 90%. So a crew which is fatigued, stressed, or unhappy is more likely to operate a ship in an unsafe or dangerous manner. And this has to be looked at how the seafarers' welfare will be taken care of. So my next topic on this particular subject will be fatigue and insufficient rest. But apart from that, we also have stress and mental health issues, poor onboard living conditions, harassment, bullying and isolation, occupational accidents and health problems, lack of access to proper medical care, especially during long voyages, and things like that. Connectivity with the shore also. So here, before I come to the main heart of the topic is about fatigue and mental health, fatigue and insufficient rest. I would like to talk about this Wakashio incident also, about which Coast Guard has also said about it. So in this case, this was a ship which was maneuvering close, long voyage, China to Brazil, I think it was. And there was a party going on board, and they wanted to have a signal of for the mobile. So the master ordered the second mate to come close to the coast of Mauritius. And they came very close, and finally they ran aground. Even without proper charts, they went close. And the ship was mostly manned with Indians. Master was Indian, and the second mate who was on watch was a Sri Lankan. So now the final report has come out, and with the videos and the recording, it was shown that there was no proper lookout, there was no proper watchkeeping done, and that's how she ran aground. She broke in two, and there was a spillage of bunkers because it was an ore carrier, so there was no much oil, but it was spillage of bunker. So this was a very, very unfortunate incident. Again, why? What was the main aspect? Root cause, looking for a mobile signal. If you had provided proper Wi-Fi at that time, this welfare aspect would not have avoided such a huge, big accident. Luckily, there was no loss of life. On the other hand, you have the Dali incident, where paperwork, you're putting checklist, tuck, 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 tuck. ISM code says this much paperwork has to be completed, everything is being shown, and they very well knew, the ex-crew knew that there was a problem with the electrical circuitry, there was a problem with the power generation. The blackouts had happened very often there, and what is that, Murphy's law or something? Something has to go wrong, will go wrong, and that's how the ship collided with the bridge, huge disaster. 6 people who were working on the bridge, they lost their lives. Still the case is ongoing. Again, who are the people who are manning the ship? Indians, all 22 Indians. So we have to be careful about this. What are we doing about it? Sometimes we are just pushing under the carpet these things. We have to look at it in the eyes and try to see what is the solution for this. Okay, let's come to the main topic of mental fatigue. So there is an alarming indication. 69% of seafarers report symptoms of mental fatigue and burnout. subject, this particular subject was researched by ISWAN, the International Seafarers Welfare Association. ISWAN did this research in as nearby as 2023, and they attributed 45% due to poor sleep, and 25% admit making mistakes due to tiredness. So there is something here. If a body like ISWAN is giving you a figure of 69% of seafarers reporting mental fatigue and burnout, what it shows? It shows that there is no proper sleep hygiene on board. There is no proper rest being monitored on board. But you have a rest period log, you have everything there. So you mean to say the rest period log is being filled up properly? No, not a zero. It is being cooked up, it is being fudged, and it is not being properly filled up. It is just to show the authorities that people are getting good rest. So this is my experience also. I am very frank about it, and this is going to be seen, and this is not going to be solved. Because in seamanship, when you do talk about seamanship, you need to have a clear mind, thinking mind, good reflexes, all that thing, and a good way of responding to emergencies. That will not come if you are not sleeping properly. So one of my colleagues has coined this word, the seamanship has gone and papermanship has taken over. So everything is papermanship. So you are good in papermanship, but your seamanship takes back seat. Okay. And as already alluded, maximum 75% maritime accidents are linked to human error. Okay. Let's talk more about mental fatigue. Long hours and irregular shifts, isolation from family and friends, monotonous routines and confined spaces, high stress work environments, interrupted or poor quality sleep. This is being seen very, very often because of the internet again. You are giving them one facility of uncontrolled internet, but then the family, अरे उसको कुछ तबीयत खराब हो गई है, चलो phone करते हैं. They realize that guy is just sleeping or he is just off watch, they will call him. And then he gets disturbed, leads to mental disturbance, leads to lack of sleep. And what watch is he going to keep? So it's a very fine-edged sword, You give some facility, but then this is misused also. So the person who is doing that should be taught about, and he should have a self-discipline also to, how to not misuse this facility to the detriment of not only his health, but of the health of the full crew and the cargo. So what is the consequences because of this mental fatigue? Cognitive impairment, which leads to diminished decision making and attention, emotional distress, irritability, anxiety, depression and burnout. Next is reduced performance, slower response times, errors and reduced productivity. Then we come to the most important one which is being seen. These are chronic health issues, higher risk of heart disease, weakened immunity and metabolic disorders. So some practical solutions for this is enforce MLC 2006 rest hours compliance strictly by our stakeholders. Easier said than done, but this is the most important thing, that you don't fudge rest period records. You use fatigue monitoring tools provided by the company. International Shipping Federation has given this in a book called Watchkeeper, ISF Watchkeeper. What are these fatigue management tools? Mental health access, raising awareness among seafarers and ship management about the causes and consequences of fatigue. This is very vital. This can start from the cadet level or the marine engineer training level itself, so that it gets into their subconscious. Training of crew in mental health by various efforts is essential. Recreation and engagement. Create space and time for social or creative activities. Gone are the days when people used to assemble in the smoke room, sit together, have chat, play bridge, play rummy, things like that. Now everybody is confined to the cabins and playing games on the computer or talking to their families. Family connectivity, again, this is a double-edged sword. I already said Wi-Fi accessible should be there, but it should not be misused. Sleep hygiene, use the noise control, blackout curtains, and consistent sleep routines should be adhered to. Supportive leadership. Encourage a culture of openness and empathy about mental health. This can come from the top management. Empower leaders to recognize and respond to fatigue. So mental fatigue is one of the most complex interplay of human factors leading to decreased performance and increased risk of accidents. The mental fatigue can significantly impact a seafarer's cognitive abilities, decision making, and overall safety performance. So by addressing the root causes and investing in support systems, the maritime industry can safeguard seafarers' well-being and operational excellence. A mentally strong crew is the foundation of a safe and sustainable voyage. Now, in conclusion, I'm going to talk about two case studies which directly, mental health and sleep deprivation led to these two disasters. One was the general cargo ship called MV Danio. This grounded in Ferney Island near in UK. This was a vessel which was doing this particular in and out from UK quite regularly, and this vessel grounded, and they found the Maritime Investigation Bureau found that the lone watchkeeper was there. He was on duty and had fallen asleep and was likely to have been suffering from fatigue due to disruptive 6 on 6 off schedule. So there was a master, chief officer, and one more officer. The master was not keeping watches. It was the chief officer and the second mate who was keeping watches. And the chief officer had slept only for 3 hours. And prior to that in port, he was working continuously for 17 hours. And all the rest periods were fudged. So this was disrupted because of the port call. The incident is often referenced in discussions on fatigue risk in the maritime industry, with the message that even a single night of poor rest or a problematic watch cycle can degrade the performance significantly. So training in this should be inculcated to all the officers and ABs and whoever is keeping watches. Watch schedules that do not allow adequate restorative sleep combined with interrupted rest significantly raise the risk of lapses, errors, and accidents. Second case is a very recent one, which happened on the 10th of March this year, 2025, in the North Sea. This was a collision between MV Solong and MV, it's not MV, it's MT, Stena Immaculate. So Stena Immaculate was carrying aviation fuel, and she was chartered by the United States Air Force. And MV Solong was a Portuguese registered ship with a Russian master, and she was a general cargo vessel. And visibility was not so good. The Stena Immaculate was at anchor off the coast of Eastern Yorkshire, again UK. And we have MV Solong proceeding at a speed of 16 knots in restricted visibility. 16 knots in restricted visibility. The watchkeeper was not having any lookout, sole watchkeeper on board. Even the Stena Immaculate had only one watchkeeper, although it was at anchor, so they had a little bit of leeway to get away from in the investigation. But even an anchored vessel, we have seen many cases like the Heavy Spirit in Korea, South Korea, where they blamed the anchored vessel itself. Why you did not try to pick up the anchor? So that means nobody was keeping a radar watch to see if any ship is coming close. So this particular Solong came and collided at 16 knot speed at a course of 150 on the port side of Immaculate, Stena Immaculate. And huge explosion because aviation fuel, and you had containers which were carrying alcohol on Solong. And that also caught fire, this caught fire, explosion, loss of one life only, but that was also a miracle, only one person died. There were two ships were stuck together for many hours, a day or so. After that they came apart, and the investigation revealed that watchkeepers were not rested, they had been fatigued. There were some also theories about third party and sabotage and all, because there was a Russian master, but all that has not been proved. Okay, it was basically due to non-rest periods or rest periods not being adhered to properly. They even are, the blame is also on the ship which is at anchor. It is not 100% not to be blamed. They will also be blamed. It is an ongoing process. So far the full investigation has not come out. We are waiting for it because it's a fairly recent case. So with this, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to rest my case about how fatigue can impact the safety out at sea. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain Nayak. That was a wonderful talk on various aspects of fatigue, stress, workload, working conditions, and whatnot on board the merchant marine. And these things are indeed very true. And unless we take care of the welfare of our men on board the ships, I think these kind of disasters cannot be averted. So that brings us to the end of the three very interesting talks by our speakers on the panel today. And I thank each one of them for having prepared so well and giving and delivering their talks on the subjects that they spoke about. So we do have some time, but before I open the house for question answer sessions, let me just summarize very quickly in a nutshell what speakers have conveyed to this audience today. Our first speaker today, Rear Admiral Madula. He's a Flag Officer Sea Training. We are all aware. I just want to take you back to 1609 and Victor Hugo, the Dutch, the author, who spoke about mare liberum, which is, freedom of the seas. And ever since then, and that was the age of discovery when the seas, there was a lot of explorations by the Portuguese, the Spanish, the English, seas, the countries were being occupied. Seas were considered to be free, that they were open to all nations. And the concept of freedom of the seas was talked about ever since then. And that gave rise to the concept of global commons. And it was believed that the oceans were basically the common heritage of mankind. And today, of course, we talk about three global commons. One is the open oceans, the cyberspace, and outer space. And that no particular country or no particular nation or organizations can colonize the global commons. But the flip side of all of this, and even today, there is no sort of a agency, country, organization which is responsible for enforcing regulation on the high seas. Even today, yes, up to the EEZ, we do have the coastal nations, but beyond that, there is no particular agency, and that gives rise to various incidents of safety and security. You have anti-piracy, you have piracy incidents, you have safety incidents on the high seas. Of course, you do have it in the other parts of the ocean as well. But the fact that there is no regulation is one of the reasons. And therefore, it is very interesting and very important that we have talked about navigation and operational safety today, because despite all the automation, despite all the advances in technology, we continue to have, and we have, Captain Nayak alluded to specific instances of navigational instances where people have lost their lives and ships are also lost. So coming to the first speaker, he has talked about various challenges in the Indian Ocean region, such as the high traffic density, so many navies operating over here, the various navigation routes which are poorly defined, inadequate maritime domain awareness, and then very rightly he has pointed out that no one nation, it has to be a collective effort. You cannot have, no one nation has the complete resources to address all of these challenges. And this was also acknowledged at some years ago, by the Chief of Naval Operations of the United States Navy, and he talked about 1,000-ship navy. What was in his mind was a collaborative effort of like-minded navies who will address all the challenges that the maritime nations face at sea. Admiral Madula also talked about the efforts by various countries such as the CMF, UNAFOR, the independent nations such as China, India, Japan, for curbing the piracy which had suddenly raised its ugly head in 2008 and continued till 2014, when it's quietly died down because of all these efforts. And of course by the best management practices which were introduced and by the merchant marine. He spoke about the Indian Navy's efforts towards contribution towards these piracy efforts, and more importantly, it should be a shared responsibility. And we have seen that all these efforts in the countering piracy has happened because nearly 25 ships at any given time were present, and even today I think it's reduced. But without this shared responsibility, cooperative effort, nothing would have happened. And then he It touched upon the importance of maritime domain awareness and the operational capability of the various littoral countries and the need for implementing policy and legal issues. And towards this, the next step as far as the Indian Navy is concerned is the introduction of the National Maritime Domain Awareness, which is the next step in improving. We also have the IMAC and the IFC IOR, which have really improved the domain awareness, and that without the domain awareness, you can't really address any safety or security issue at sea. And so that is the first very important pillar, which he rightly pointed out. Next was, of course, building the training and capacity building, not only of Indian Merchant Marine, the Indian Navy, Coast Guard, but also of all the countries in the region. And towards this, the initiative taken by way of Sagar, the Indian Ocean ship Sagar. Then the next step is the concept of Mahasagar. All of these are, step-by-step approaches to strengthen maritime safety and security, at least in the Indian Ocean region, which, of course, in this region, we are the most dominant maritime power, and therefore it is our onus to take the responsibility to implement these measures. Finally, I think what he rightly brought out was how we can, or rather the region can harvest or leverage the capacity of FOST. FOST is such an important organization, and I was just talking earlier, we have, how was FOST set up in India? And we have Captain Pasricha, commanding officer of the commissioning commanding officer Virat, and Virat was the first Indian naval ship to undergo training by FOST UK, and I was part of the crew under him as a very young officer. He was our captain, and we underwent for the first time after independence the sea training at Plymouth and Portland, and I would say, and that was a 3-week workup by FOST UK. And in my entire naval career, I do not recall any kind of training that was as robust, that made you feel so confident at the end of that. It was trial by fire. We were put through such a hard regimen, but at the end of it, we still, till to date, I can get up in the middle of the night if somebody shakes me up and shouts fire, fire, fire. I can go blindfolded even today and do the right things. That is the level of training, safety training. And it was only safety training for 3 weeks, the full ship. Captain Prasicha is here, and it was a fantastic, wonderful experience. And that gave the impetus for setting up FOST India today, and FOST will agree with me. It is the most relevant organization today in the Indian Navy because of the safety standards. It has improved safety standards. In addition, we have the Iron Safety Team, which has been subsequently set up. Also, because we felt that there were far too many incidents of failure of safety in the Navy, and we felt that something more had to be done. So, Iron Safety Team has been set up in Kochi, and it is now doing its job, what it's supposed to do. The second speaker, we have Coast Guard IG Sharma, and he spoke extensively about the excellent work being done by the Coast Guard. Initially, Coast Guard, when they were set up, had old second-hand ships from the Navy which were given to the Coast Guard, and a lot of officers from the Navy also joined. But over the years, they have matured. They have now very modern ships. He was talking of the control vessels which are going to be commissioned very shortly in the next 2 months. And capacity building of the Coast Guard, capability of the Coast Guard has improved dramatically over the years. And you've seen the incidents of fire and collision and grounding, etc., which they have addressed. Of course, these incidents which are happening close to our coast, but nonetheless, today we have the capacity to address that. We have not reached the desired level because of mainly, I would say, because of capacity constraint, not because of capability, but with the capacity of number of ships, aircraft, etc., which will increase in the coming years. I'm sure that this level of safety and response to pollution, etc., will further improve. But at the heart of it is the capability achieved due to training, and that is a very important thing. And Coast Guard, like the Navy, emphasizes a lot on training, and they have their own training institutions, and particularly for safety and SAR. And today they are able to rescue, and he projected the statistics on the number of lives which have been rescued. Every year they rescue so many lives. from the sea. They prevent accidents at sea. Ships which are drifting towards the coast are stopped from drifting. So I have seen over my career the improvement in the capability of the Coast Guard, which he has highlighted. It's a very, very important maritime agency at sea. And more important is the collaboration and cooperation between the Navy and the Coast Guard. I think that initially there were instances of non-cooperation, suspicion between each other as to everybody, both of them trying to guard their turf, but without the cooperation and well-defined boundaries of responsibilities, these things are bound to happen. But with practice over the years, with experience, things have now, the wrinkles have smoothened out to some extent, but still improvement can be there. Nonetheless, I would say the Navy and the Coast Guard have done their bit for the merchant marine to improve safety and security at sea. Coming to the last speaker, and very rightly so, and one was not really aware of the difficulties being faced by the merchant marine and the statistics he quoted, and today it's, and because, bottom lines of owners and companies are so important, number of crew has been drastically cut on nearly all the ships. And he gave an example when he joined the merchant marine in 76. The VLCs that he served on had 72 crew. And today in 2025, similar kind of tonnage ship has just 22 crew, nearly 1/3. This is really shocking. And so this gives rise to the next very important thing as to the role of automation in the shipping industry. And tomorrow we may indeed reach a stage where the entire ship may be devoid of any crew. And we do have fully automated ships, and it has been proven. And in the interest of saving costs, the companies and businesses may be interested in moving on to fully automated ships. How will that affect safety? They may entirely do away with the crew. So, but that is something that is open to discussion. How do we prevent, or how do we ensure the safety remains sacrosanct even in fully automatic ships? This is something that is inevitable. We are moving towards it. IMO is seized of this. Regulations might come about, but how do we ensure safety despite all this? So that is something which we can talk of during he talked about the incidents of MV Dali and MV Wakashiko in Mauritius. It is very startling, very shocking that simple overlooking of simple watch-keeping practices, which all of us, these practices ingrained into you at the time when you are young officers, these are simply overlooked for convenience, etc., and leads to such huge disasters. So safety is non-compromisable. You cannot compromise safety, and that is, I have always believed in that. And despite all the institutions that we may, procedures, regulations, policies, check-off lists, so many things are there, audits are there, more and more paperwork, as you rightly said, instead of seamanship, it is papermanship. And this is really increasing the burden on the crews of the merchant ships. And somehow we need to see how we improve safety culture rather than simply having more and more tick boxes to check. Safety culture is entirely different. It is, and Admiral Pasricha did flash a slide, and I think that is very, very important. Safety culture is more important than merely check-off lists. And no matter how good your training is, unless all that leads to enhancement of safety culture, it may not take you very far. So these are the important, I think, takeaway points of the three speakers. And finally, I would just leave the last word I would like to say is that safety and security are part of the same, two sides of the same coin, and you can't achieve one without the other. And both of these is everybody's responsibility. You can't say it's the responsibility of the master, captain of the ship, crew of the ship, right from the owner, the business, and as far as the Navy is concerned, right from the topmost rank in the Navy, as far as the merchant Navy is concerned, the owner, the flag of convenience, the administration, everybody must feel that they are involved in safety and security, otherwise it cannot be achieved. And of course the importance of safety culture. So those are that is my two bit to contribute to the excellent talks by the three speakers. Now I open the house for any Q&A. We have about half an hour, I think, 25 minutes. So kindly do mention your name, organization, if you're from any organization, and the speaker to whom it is addressed. Thank you. We have, kindly wait for the mic. Do you have a mic?
I have a point for FOST. I am Commander A.B. Kulkarni. I have commanded LST and LCU. And what I have observed is that LST and LCU, they suffer accidents while beaching, loss of rudder, propeller, hull damage, etc. So for that, I have a suggestion that for every beaching, whether it is amphex or practice beaching, there should be a powerful tug standby. Because I have seen that when another naval ship is put to rescue the vessel, she also suffers the damage. And the second point is that FOST and LWT East both should have amphibious expertise. That's all.
Yes, I think both these points are absolutely relevant. As you're aware, one of the workup teams, LWT East, is now re-nomenclatured as the Warship Workup Team Vizag, sir. And they cover the amphibious workups at the ANC also. So from the lessons that we've learned based on the incidents that have happened, in whichever beaching activity that we carry out at least during the FOST workups, as also otherwise also, tug is always kept standby. And we have had occasion to use it. So definitely it is part of the SOP now. And coming to the second point of having officers and crew from with amphibious background for the workups, that is again an SOP that we follow. In case at that point of time in the workup team we do not have somebody with an amphibious background, what we do is we co-opt, including COs and XOs of other ships, who sort of aid us in ensuring safety during these operations. So both the points are absolutely valid, and we have incorporated them into our training curriculum.
I'm Admiral Patham, and it's not a question, but I want to first thank Captain Naik for a very, very free and frank expose on what really is happening in the Merchant Navy. And it's indeed a matter of great concern because maximum amount of traffic at sea is the merchant marine. And so much depends on that. All our trade is through that. The Indian Navy, which is conducting this, is a very small minuscule of it. And I'm sure there are people here who have served, have been ex-merchant Navy, and there are some naval officers who have served in the merchant Navy, and they may also like to say a few things on this. I speak now because my son is a chief officer on a CNG carrier, and of course he is in a foreign line ship. So I found a certain amount of between what you said and what I subject him to, because I question him every time he comes back. So he tells me that they are very stringent, control. First and foremost is that earlier, which used to be 6 months on and 6 months off, is now being cut down to just 3 months on and 3 months off, plus minus 1 month. And yes, as you rightly said, the number of crew on board is very restricted, and a lot of load comes on each and every one of them, especially the captain. So much so that officers, even though they may be qualified, do not want to serve as captains. Because the captain, invariably, master, is sitting down below and he is being given the full responsibility of not only being responsible for the entire ship, but also for ensuring that if every crew has to be repatriated, his visa, his travel and stuff like that. So it is indeed a matter of great concern. But having said that, is it not something that has to be taken into account in the greater sense that this is addressed properly? I mean, crew fatigue is just one aspect of it. The entire thing that you covered is something which I feel would need to be addressed, and that would be need to be addressed by the shipping industry rather than just a forum like this that is here. Your exams and all are very tough. Nobody passes in the first instance. You know, 2-3 efforts are made before you pass. The Viva Voice is very tough. And he tells me about, you know, ex-Navy officers who go and join up and sail as masters or undergo the various refresher courses and how tough these courses are. So I just found that, you know, I got the impression after talking to him that the standards were very, very stringent. And to be told that, you know, it is really not all that and, you know, there's a lot of leeway and that's how a lot of accidents are taking place is indeed a matter of grave concern. But thank you very much for, you know, being very free and frank about it. Thank you.
Thanks, Admiral, for those candid points which your son has told you. As I said in my talk, that there are different kinds of owners. You have fly-by-night owners and you have owners who are responsible, who will take decision of even stopping the ship so that the people get proper rest hours. There are some owners like that, but they are in the minority. And regarding 4 months on or 3 months on, 3 months off, that is normal now. But the thing is that these periods get extended because the relievers are not there. Whatever anybody may say, it takes time, especially because the merchant shipping is expanding exponentially. Each big company is having so many ships on order. So we have various various owners and various flags, and they have their different standards. So there's all stakeholders are not on the same page, so to say.
Okay, thank you, Captain Nayak, for providing that clarification. I think we have a question here. If you could kindly limit your question to a question. And Mike, please, Mike.
My question is to Captain Nayak. I'm Captain Sarfaraz Shaw from the Merchant Navy, Master Marina. The main issue about manning the ship is the ship's safety manning certificate. Now, all the violations take place because of that. Because you have a master, 2 watchkeeping officers, chief engineer, 2 engineers, 1 viper, 1 boiler, 2 ABs, and many times ships are forced, sometimes due to, like you're saying, constraints. We are sailing on this safe manning thing. So do you think this safe manning certificate should be amended to be concurrent with the actual manning?
Thank you, Captain. For this, the answer lies with the IMO. They were the people, all the governments put together, they decided that we don't need so many people. And India is a party to IMO. So we have to follow the same, what they dictate. But it's up to each owner on their own if they feel that safety has to be enhanced. For example, doubling of watches, ship is doing quick runs, ship is doing STS operations. For that you need extra officer, you have to put. So that is again the responsible owner, the responsible DPA, designated person should take that decision. But IMO is the lowest common multiple. You have to go higher than what they are saying. So it depends on what flag is going to tell you, what your port is going to, PSC is going to tell you, and what your owner decision is going to take. So I think we have a retired former nautical advisor with us and the chief surveyor to the government of India, again retired. Maybe they can throw some light on this. Thank you.
Commodore Malhotra here. So,
Yes, please.
Thank you, Captain Naik, for referring to us. A very important point has come up here, but perhaps amongst the presentations made by these 3 distinguished speakers, I may draw attention to one aspect that has concerned me for a long time, namely the concept of ship management vis-a-vis the ship owners. You see, as Captain Naik very correctly pointed out to us, that there are responsible owners and there are fly-by-night owners, you see. Apart from that, the increased world trade resulting in increased merchant shipping and plus technological advances on different fronts. Like our good friend here spoke about his son being a chief officer on a CNG ship, you know. The point here is that the ship management companies who are given certain fixed budgets to manage the manning and look after the ships, and the owners fix the ship's trade, you see. So here there is a division of responsibility, in my opinion, and the ship owner, as Captain Naik has admitted, that there are fly-by-night ship owners who leave everything to ship managers to handle this subject of security and safety, which is so wide-ranging really in its complexity with increased technology on all fronts. And to my mind, somewhere action needs to be afoot for drawing circles around the concept of ship management totally and increasing the role of responsibility on ship owners themselves. This is what I feel is a good step forward, going by the kind of accidents that keep happening, unfortunately, all over the world, despite adequacy of law. There is enough law there to look after the safety and security and all the problems. I mean, one point that Captain Naik identified just now is about shore leave. I mean, why should there be a problem about shore leave? I mean, I don't know. But I would say that we need to draw a line on the responsibilities of ship management companies and increase the role of ship owners' responsibilities in the various IMO conventions. This is what I may suggest.
Thank you, Captain Afde. I think we are running out of time. Yes. Perhaps one last question.
Thank you, Admiral. I'll just highlight a little bit about the manning part which Captain Naik mentioned. IMO has laid down the minimum standards required. That's the minimum. But they have not said that you can increase your manning. That's up to the owner, as he rightly said, owner and operator. One concept is you have safe operational manning. Safe operational manning means two ships, let's say two similar ships, one on long voyage and one on short voyage, a tanker. Actually, the one on a short voyage, the officers and crew, they get much less time for rest, because by the time they finish discharging or loading, it's time to sail, and within 2 days he's in another port. And again, discharging, loading. So the solution was you have a separate crew, shore-based crew, who take over the loading, discharging operations, so that the officers are not stressed physically and they have time to rest. I have seen this in a large container shipping company where all the container loading, discharging is done by a couple of experts from shore. They come and more or less take over the entire operation. So this is my point of view on the safe manning, and I think we are gradually going towards that. At least the discerning ship owners and ship managers have already been adopting this, and Captain Naik would know better on this, I think. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we don't have time for any further questions, but before I close, I would just like to invite Captain Kiran Joshi, who's in the audience, and he would want to convey special thanks to FOST, Rear Admiral Madula, because Captain Kiran Joshi was commanding the SCI VLCC Desh Vaibhav in 2019, and during his voyage through the Straits of Hormuz, Admiral Madula was CEO of Trikhand, who escorted him in Op Sankalp, and he would just like to quickly say something to Admiral Madula. Captain Naik, are you there somewhere?
Good afternoon, esteemed audience and the dignitaries. That was a very interactive response from the Indian Navy when the ships were being attacked off the Fujairah as well as the Strait of Hormuz, because of the adamant procedures being followed by certain countries there. And my ship was carrying about 2 million barrels of crude oil, and we were running the ship from Persian Gulf to India, and during this passage, Indian Navy gave a great support to us to achieve the navigational safety and maritime safety. So Captain Madula was commanding the Trikand, and he did, as a personal gesture, a small note appreciating the efforts of the Merchant Navy. And I'm also grateful to the Indian Navy and as well as to Admiral Madula to extending a great support to our ships. Thank you very much.
So I think with those, with that excellent example of cooperation between the security forces, and I would also include in that our good friends of the Coast Guard, we have been at the forefront of ensuring safety and security for our brothers, brother mariners, seafarers. We are all seafarers. And I think without this kind of cooperation, it is not possible. And I think the message to be taken home today is that all mariners must unite together and solve each other's problems. And I hope tomorrow we are better off as far as safety and security are concerned with this. So thank you once again to IMF for organizing this excellent seminar. And thank you all audience for excellent participation.
With that, we come to the end of session 1. I would like to thank the moderator, Admiral Karve, as well as all the speakers, Admiral Madula, IG Sharma, and Captain Naik, for having given their respective perspectives, that is Navy, Coast Guard, as well as the Mercantile Marine. And I'm sure that all of you must have found it to be a very interesting and educative session. May I request the President IMF to kindly give the mementos to the speakers and the moderator. Firstly to the moderator, Admiral Karve. I would request them to kindly, if they can come in front of the table to receive the mementos. You can come here, sir. In the center. I think that'll be better. Admiral Madula. IG Bisham Sharma. And finally, Captain Mohan Naik.